Today we're going to be talking about something called reflexive verbs. Remember to follow along with your note sheet, and you can pause and rewind the video at any point if necessary. Take a look at these four pictures. The two pictures on the left are labeled oui. The two pictures on the right are different and they're labeled no. What I'd like you to do is take a look at them all and try and figure out why they're separated into these two columns. Pause the video and think about it. Now let's see if you have a right and accurate guess. The pictures on the left show pictures that indicate that the actions were being done to oneself. I am brushing my own teeth. I am brushing my own hair. On the other side, on the right, the pictures are showing actions that are being done to someone else. So for example, that's Lily. That's my dad's dog, Lily. I am brushing her teeth. So she is not brushing her own teeth. I am brushing her teeth. And don't worry, I didn't let her use my toothbrush for real. And in the second picture, I am brushing her hair. The action is being done to her by someone else, by me. So now take a look at the sentences that accompany these two pictures. What do you notice is a difference between these two sentences? Pause the video and think about it. Before I reveal why, the verbs that we are going to talk about today, the verbs that express that the action is performed by the subject on itself, are called reflexive verbs. I wash myself. They dress themselves. These verbs require a reflexive pronoun to show that the one who does the action, the subject, is also receiving the action. So look in the first sentence that goes with the first picture. Elle se brosse les dents. The se that's underlined, that's the reflexive pronoun. It's showing that the subject is performing the action on itself. She is brushing her own teeth. The reflexive pronoun, however, is not in the second sentence with the picture of Lily, because Lily is not brushing her own teeth. The subject, she, is performing the action on someone else. She is brushing her dog's teeth. So to form a sentence with a reflexive verb, you need both the reflexive pronoun and the verb. So here's an example with the verb se laver, which means to wash oneself. We have je me lave, tu te laves, il se lave, nous nous lavons, vous vous lavez, and elle se lave. So there are two things to notice here. First, the underlined words are the reflexive pronouns, and they will always match the same subject. So me always goes with je, te always goes with tu, se always goes with il and elle, and so on and so forth. It does look funny with the nous and vous because the word is doubled, but it's necessary to have both. The first nous is the subject. The second nous is the reflexive pronoun, and it's the same for vous. And then secondly, notice that the verb is just conjugated how it would be conjugated regularly. This is a regular ER verb, so it's conjugated for the subjects. So the only thing new that you really need to do is insert the reflexive pronoun that matches the subject to show that the action is being performed by the subject to itself. Check out this verb, s'habiller. It means to dress oneself. We have je m'habille, tu t'habilles, il s'habille, nous nous habillons, vous vous habillez, elle s'habille. Do you notice what happens to the me, te, and se before a vowel, or in this case a vowel sound? You're right. You take off the E and add an apostrophe before a vowel or a vowel sound. Now it's your turn. Throughout these next 4 examples, I'm going to pause the video to give you a chance. You should pause the video to give yourself a chance to conjugate these verbs and see if you can do it correctly. The first one is se réveiller. It means to wake oneself up. Pause the video and see if you can do it on your own, and then when you press play again, the answers will come up. Here you go. See how you did. The next verb is se lever, which means to get up. Hint, it's a boot verb. So pause the video and see what you can do. Here are the answers. The next verb is se coucher, meaning to go to bed. It's a regular ER verb. So pause the video and try yourself. And finally, your last verb is s'endormir, which means to fall asleep. This is a regular verb, but you need the reflexive pronoun and you conjugate it like dormir. So pause the video and see if you can do it by yourself and then check your answers. Here are the answers. We have je m'endors, tu t'endors, il s'endort, elle s'endort, nous nous endormons, vous vous endormez, il s'endorme, elle s'endorme. Here are some other verbs that you should take some time, pause the video, and make sure you have the definitions. These are verbs that are important for us when we're talking about our daily routines with reflexive verbs. If we want to make the sentence negative, meaning we don't do something or we never do something, you still use the ne pas sandwich, but included in the ne pas sandwich is the reflexive pronoun. So you do the subject, the ne, the reflexive pronoun, the verb conjugated, and the pas. So instead of je me lave, we have je ne me lave pas. Take a sentence and I'd like you to pause the video and turn these sentences into negative sentences. Check your answers and see how you did. Sometimes when we're speaking, we use more than one verb, and we'll do this with reflexive verbs too. So if the sentence has more than one verb, the first verb is conjugated to fit the subject, and the second is in the infinitive. We leave it alone. So here's an example. Je vais me laver. Nous voulons nous maquiller. So notice that aller is conjugated to be vais, and laver is left alone. Vouloir is conjugated as voulons. Maquiller is left in its infinitive form. So to make sentences with two verbs, we take the subject, the first verb, which is conjugated, the reflexive pronoun that matches the subject of the sentence, and then the second verb is in the infinitive. These are some of the verbs that we will often use, and we'll practice these in class. We have aller, if you want to talk about the near future, vouloir, if we want to talk about to want, devoir, to have to, pouvoir, to be able to. What I'd like you to do is we're going to quickly review how to conjugate these verbs so you can use them effectively in a sentence and accurately. So pause the video, see if you can remember the conjugations. When you hit play, you'll see the answers. So quickly check to make sure that you have these accurate and we'll be able to use them to talk about what we are going to do, what we want to do, what we must do, and what we can do when it comes to reflexive verbs. So here are four sentences using the four different verbs. Notice that you still need to choose the reflexive pronoun that matches the sentence. Je vais me brosser les dents. Elle veut se brosser les dents. Nous devons nous brosser les dents. Ils peuvent se brosser les dents. So you conjugate the first verb, choose the reflexive pronoun that matches the subject, leave the second verb in the infinitive. If you want to make it negative, follows the same rule. Okay, but this time the reflexive pronoun is not in the ne pas sandwich. So you have the subject, the ne, the conjugated verb, the pas, the reflexive pronoun, and then the infinitive. So instead of saying je vais me laver, we have je ne vais pas me laver. Pause the video and change these sentences that have two verbs into negative. Here are the answers. Now finally, if we want to give an order to someone, like wash up, so an example like that, notice what happens to the reflexive pronoun. If it's for tu, we say lave-toi. You change the to toi. You put it after the verb with a hyphen. If it's negative, however, it stays to and it goes right before the verb, and the ne and the pas go around it. Also remember that if it's a regular ER verb in a command, you don't have the S, so that's why the S is missing. For nous, l'avons hyphen nous. If it's negative again, the reflexive pronoun comes back before the verb and it's in the ne pas. And same for vous. Lavez-vous, ne vous lavez pas. And then, like I mentioned, the S's are gone. For questions, you can form questions the same two ways as always. We can form questions with esca, and we can form questions with inversion. If it's with esca, you just add esca to the beginning. If it's inversion, you only invert the subject and the verb, and then you leave the reflexive pronoun at the beginning. Te laves-tu? Fin. This concludes the video on reflexive pronouns. Again, you can rewatch the video if you need to, and if you still have questions, come prepared with them to class, and we will be practicing this a lot in class.